Well, I usually say good morning, but good afternoon. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the 150th Landon Lecture on Public Affairs. Thank you so much for coming. The Landon Lectures were started in 1966 by the late Governor Alf Landon and the late K-State President James McCain. As you know, the goal of the Landon Lectures is to bring the most prominent public figures in the world to our university to discuss and analyze the pressing issues of the day. We are very pleased today to welcome the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to the United States, Zhou Wenzhong, to the Landon podium to join 149 predecessors in bringing his thoughts and opinions on the important issues of the day. Before introducing members of the platform party, there are several distinguished guests out in the audience. For example, I'm very pleased and delighted to introduce Ambassador Zhou's wife, Madam Xu Min Xia, is here. Please, there she is right there. And what a delightful couple. We're so happy to have the Chinese delegation here today. And they have a great sense of humor. They love America. And they are great representatives of the Chinese people. In addition, I would like to introduce a dear friend and a congressman, and a great congressman, Jerry Moran. Jerry? There he is. In terms of the platform party, let me introduce the people up here. On my left, first Professor Franklin Spikes, Professor of Educational Administration and President of our esteemed Faculty Senate. Franklin? And then next to him, another rising star in American business or politics, whichever one he chooses. A senior in Management Information Systems and the President of the Kansas State University student body. Then on my right,
Mr. Edward Seaton, Chairman of the Landon Patrons and Editor-in-Chief and Publisher of our excellent newspaper, the Manhattan Mercury. Ed? And next to him is a person I've introduced many times. Well, you know it's not easy to get presidents of the United States and presidents of countries to come to Manhattan, Kansas. I mean, we work hard at it. You got to understand that. You know, maybe 20 letters, 15 phone calls, personal trips, whatever it takes. But I think, you know, we get them here, don't we? Don't we get them here? Now, Chuck, for example, several months ago, visited Washington, D.C., in the Chinese embassy, just to reiterate our enthusiasm for having the ambassador here. And then, of course, flew to Washington, D.C. yesterday to pick up the ambassador and his delegation. So we're very pleased, Chuck, with the excellent job that you've done here over the years. We wouldn't have the Landon Lecture Series, quite frankly, without you. Dr. Chuck Reagan. Well, I'm very pleased this afternoon to introduce His Excellency, Ambassador Zhou Wenzhong, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to the United States of America. He was appointed to the post on April 14, 2005. Ambassador Zhou previously served in Washington as Deputy Chief of Mission of the Chinese Embassy and on a prior occasion as attaché, and then third secretary. In addition, he has been China's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, which is the second leading foreign affairs position in the country of China, and assistant foreign ministers, as well as ambassador to Australia. In the mid-1990s, Ambassador Zhou served as Consul General of China in Los Angeles and Deputy Consul General in San Francisco. He has also held the important post of Deputy Director General of the North American and Oceanic Affairs Department in the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador Zhou studied at Bath University in the London School of Economics. Well, this afternoon, we are very pleased to have Ambassador Zhou join his diplomatic colleagues, His Excellency Prince Turki Al Faisal of Saudi Arabia, and Kato, Ambassador of Japan, in bringing his thoughts to the Landon Lectures. Please help me welcome Ambassador Zhou Wenzhong.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for a very kind introduction. And I want to thank all of you for your kind invitation. It is my honor to be associated with this prestigious lecture series. Governor Landon is one of the first in this country who argued for normalization of relations with China. And I still remember the meeting between him and the ambassador at that time in the early 80s. And I was in the meeting. And we respect him, and we want to thank him for all he did for our relations. I also want to thank you for your interest in learning more about China. And I think it is the understanding of people and support of the people for relations between us which keeps the relations going. So I hope what I'm going to talk about will help you to understand more about China and to develop a balanced perspective of what's going on in China and why we are doing things in that way. So now let me take this opportunity to talk about China's peaceful development strategy and China-US relations. At the 17th National Congress of the Chinese Communist Party last October, President Hu Jintao stressed the point that China will stick to the path of peaceful development. We will spare no efforts in carrying out the opening up strategy for mutual benefit and a win-win outcome. We will continue to develop friendly relations and cooperation with all countries on the basis of the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. And we are ready to join hands with people across the world to promote the building of a harmonious world of enduring peace and common prosperity. This is China's policy and a long-term strategy. It is also the most important message that the 17th Party Congress is sending to the world. In fact, since the beginning of reform and opening up in the late 1970s, China has successfully embarked on a road of peaceful development based on its national conditions and in response to the call of the times. Why has China chosen the road of peaceful development? The Chinese nation has always been peace-loving. The longing for peace and the pursuit of harmony characterize China's national spirit. 600 years ago, Zheng He, the great navigator of the Ming Dynasty, led the then largest fleet in the world on 7 voyages to the Western Seas, reaching more than 30 countries and regions in Asia and Africa. He brought with him only peace and civilization, and he did not occupy an inch of other people's land. This was the best footnote for the good faith of the Chinese people in strengthening exchanges with other countries and peoples. During the 100-odd years following the Opium War of 1840, China suffered humiliation and insult from big powers. And ever since then, the Chinese people have become even more resolved to eliminate war, safeguard peace, and seek independence, prosperity, and happiness. Since the beginning of reform and opening up nearly 30 years ago, China has made remarkable progress. The economy has sustained rapid growth. The GDP increased by 10.7% in 2006 and 11.4% in 2007. People's living standard keeps improving, and 228 million rural population have been lifted out of poverty. China's economic growth is expected to contribute 16% of global economic growth in 2007. Nevertheless, China is still a developing country. We are the most populous nation in the world. Our economic foundation is weak. Our development is unbalanced. And we have quite a number of difficult problems to solve as we move forward. Therefore, we will concentrate on developing our economy, promote development in a scientific way, strengthen social harmony, and steadily improve the living standards of the Chinese people. This is the central task of the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government. The Chinese people want peace, love peace, and will do their very best and work with all the other nations to promote world peace. It is a common wish of the people throughout the world and an irresistible historical trend to pursue peace, promote development, and seek cooperation. In particular, continued trend of multipolarization and economic globalization has brought new opportunities for world peace and development. Meanwhile, the world is still troubled by many factors of instability and uncertainty. Mankind faces many severe challenges. Countries of the world need to work together to build a harmonious world of sustained peace and common prosperity. Safeguarding world peace and promoting common development has become a national will of China. The Chinese people support, promote, and participate in all things that are conducive to peace and development. As China pursues peaceful development, it will continue to make its contribution to the promotion of peace, development, and cooperation. Now you may wonder, what will China do in its pursuit of peaceful development? Pursuing peaceful development means that China is committed to building socialism with distinctive Chinese features, and it will uphold a peaceful international environment to develop itself and contribute more to world peace and common development through its development. It means that China will actively participate in economic globalization and regional cooperation while mainly relying on itself to achieve all-round, coordinated, and sustainable development through reform and innovation. It means that China will open up wider to the world and promote mutually beneficial and win-win cooperation with all other countries. It means that China will pursue an independent foreign policy of peace, never seek hegemony or external expansion, and remain a staunch force for world peace and common development. First, China is committed to achieving development by peaceful means and through cooperation. To build itself into a rich and strong country, China is mainly tapping its own resources and the potential peacefully while carrying out extensive international exchanges and cooperation on the basis of equality and mutual benefit. China does not seek to pursue its national interests through aggression, expansion, or globalization, or colonization. Since joining the WTO 6 years ago, China has been actively participating in international economic cooperation and trade. It has become one of the most open economies among the developing countries in the world. With 100 of the 160 categories of WTO required service trade sectors open to the outside world, China is approaching the level of openness of the developed countries. China is ready to continue and strengthen strategic dialogue with the United States and other developed countries to enhance mutual trust, expand common interests, deepen cooperation, appropriately handle differences, and promote long-term, steady, and sound development of the bilateral relationship. Second, China is committed to maintaining peace in the course of its development. China does not seek hegemony or spheres of influence, nor does it challenge the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of the other countries. China is a responsible country and is always committed to upholding peace and stability in the world and in its own region. We advocate and practice a new security outlook featuring mutual trust, mutual benefit, equality, and coordination, and participate in extensive international cooperation in peacekeeping, counterterrorism, and arms control. Over 9,000 Chinese peacekeepers have served in a total of 18 UN peacekeeping missions. On the nuclear issue of the Korean Peninsula, the Iran nuclear issue, and the doubtful issue of Sudan, China has been playing a significant and constructive role. Third, China is committed to common prosperity and progress of all countries and does not seek its own development at the expense of others. Through increasing aid and assistance and reducing and waiving debts, China is working vigorously to support the development of other developing countries. We believe that China's future is increasingly associated with that of the world. China cannot develop in isolation from the rest of the world, and the world needs China if it is to attain prosperity and stability. China's development is peaceful, open, cooperative, and a win-win. By following the path of peaceful development, China will build better lives for its own people and contribute to the common development of the world. This serves not only the fundamental interests of the Chinese people, but also the shared interests of people of the whole world. China's development brings increasingly extensive growth opportunities for every country. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese and American peoples have long looked upon each other with fascination and friendly sentiments. We Chinese admire the pioneering and enterprising spirit of the American people and your achievements in building your great country. As China develops and China-US cooperation expands, more and more Americans turn their eyes toward China and follow China's progress closely. Although there were rainy days during the 29 years of diplomatic relations between our two countries, our bilateral relationship on the whole has moved forward and become one of the most important bilateral relationships in the world. The Chinese government attaches great importance to China-US relationship and commits itself to developing long-term friendly relations and cooperation with the United States on the basis of the principles of the 3 Sino-US joint communiques. With concerted efforts, China and the United States have maintained a stable relationship and continued to make new progress. First, there are close exchanges and contacts between the leaders of our 2 countries. In April 2006, President Hu Jintao paid a successful visit to the United States and reached a new and important common understanding with President Bush on advancing the constructive and cooperative China-US relationship in the 21st century in an all-round way. They agreed that China and the United States are both stakeholders and constructive partners. This clearly defines China-US relationship and charts the course for its growth in the long run. Last year, President Hu Jintao and President Bush met at the G8+5 and the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. They reached important agreement on a wide range of issues. In addition, the 2 presidents often write each other letters and have telephone conversations, exchanging views on bilateral and major international and regional issues in a timely fashion. Second, there are deeper exchanges and cooperation in all fields. China-US economic and trade ties have grown stronger fast. In 2007, China-US trade made a new record of $302.08 billion, which was 10.5% more than the previous year, and over 120 times as much as the trade total when our countries established diplomatic relationship in 1979. Now, China is America's 2nd largest trading partner, and vice versa. China has been a major and the fastest growing export market for the United States for years in a row, while the United States is China's 2nd largest export market and the 6th biggest source of import. With accumulated paid-in investment in China exceeding $56 billion, funding over 54,000 projects as of the end of November 2007. The United States continues to be China's biggest source of foreign investment. At the same time, direct investment from China in the United States also continues to increase. The cultural, educational, and youth exchanges between our 2 countries is also expanding continuously. Third, there are increasingly better dialogue and closer consultations between our 2 countries at various levels. In 2007, China and the United States held the 2nd and 3rd rounds of the Strategic Economic Dialogue and the 4th round of the Strategic Dialogue. A couple of weeks ago, Deputy Secretary of State Negroponte went to China for the 5th round of the Strategic Dialogue. These dialogues have provided an important platform for our 2 countries to have strategic and substantive talks with each other in political and economic fields. In addition, we also keep in close contact with each other through more than 60 bilateral working mechanisms in various areas. Fourth, there is an increasingly prominent strategic dimension and global significance to China-US relationship. Recent years have seen increasingly frequent interaction between China and the United States in the global context on many issues affecting our world today, from terrorism, proliferation, regional hotspots, transnational crimes, non-traditional security threats, to UN reform, energy security, climate change, disease control and prevention, and disaster mitigation and relief. China and the United States have more converging interests and broader areas for cooperation. Our two countries have effective communication and coordination on the DPRK nuclear issue, the Iranian nuclear issue, Darfur, Myanmar, Pakistan, the Middle East, and other international and regional issues. Working together serves the interests of both China and the United States. Working together, China and the United States effectively safeguarded and enhanced the peace, stability, and the prosperity in Asia-Pacific region and the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no denying the issues in our relationship. They are complex and should not be overlooked. The growing protectionist sentiments and the tendency to politicize economic and trade issues are especially worrisome. There are 50 China-related trade bills introduced in the U.S. Congress concerning China's currency, exchange rate, IPR, trade imbalance, and product safety. Trade issues need to be handled properly, or they will hurt both China and the United States. One must recognize that since the normalization of relations between China and the United States, mutually beneficial and win-win cooperation has been the defining feature of the economic and trade ties between our two countries. Given the speed, scale, and the scope of the growth of this relationship, issues and frictions are hardly avoidable. Our two countries should follow the principles of development, equality, and mutual benefit, and give full play to such mechanisms as the Strategic Economic Dialogue, the Joint Commission on Commerce and Trade, the Joint Economic Commission, and the Joint Science and Technology Commission. Dialogues on an equal footing and goodwill consultations should be the right approach to address trade frictions. Trade protectionist measures or politicizing trade issues should never be an option. China takes U.S. trade concerns very seriously. We will continue to adopt vigorous measures to expand import from the United States, strengthen IPR protection, improve the currency exchange rate formulation mechanism, and ensure the quality and the safety of Chinese products. It is hoped that the U.S. side will make corresponding and positive efforts likewise, and especially abandon trade protectionist practice and relax the export control against China. We hope the U.S. side will work with us to safeguard our mutually beneficial and win-win economic and trade ties. The Taiwan question is at the core of Chinese concern. It involves the national pride of the 1.3 billion Chinese people and is always the most important and the most sensitive issue at the heart of China-U.S. relations. Handling the Taiwan question appropriately is crucial to the stability and development of China-U.S. relations. The current situation in the Taiwan Straits region is delicate and grave. In disregard of the opposition from the international community, including the United States, the Chen Shui-bian authorities are going all out, pushing for the referendum on Taiwan joining the United Nations and other Taiwan independence activities. There is a greater danger that they may take the desperate move of creating a major incident of Taiwan independence. This again shows that the Taiwan independence forces and their activities are the biggest threat to the peace and the stability in the Taiwan Straits region. Just as President Hu Jintao stressed in the report of the 17th Party Congress, the 1.3 billion people on the mainland and the 23 million people in Taiwan are of the same blood and share a common destiny. We will make every effort to achieve anything that serves the interests of our Taiwan compatriots, contributes to the maintenance of peace in the Taiwan Straits region, and facilitates peaceful national reunification. We will make every effort with the utmost sincerity to achieve peaceful reunification of the two sides, and will never allow anyone to separate Taiwan from the motherland in any name or by any means. It is a shared interest of China and the United States to oppose and forestall Taiwan independence and to safeguard peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. We hope the U.S. side will honor its commitments of adhering to the One China policy, abiding by the 3 Sino-U.S. joint communiques, and opposing Taiwan independence, handle the Taiwan question appropriately, and adopt more resolute and effective measures to block the road to Taiwan independence and to safeguard the peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits and the overall interests of China-U.S. cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, 2008 is an important year for both China and the United States. China will mark the 30th anniversary of its reform and opening up and host the Olympic Games in Beijing. And the United States will elect a new president. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of the China-U.S. joint communique on the establishment of diplomatic relations. There are opportunities for our bilateral ties. There are also challenges that we must handle properly. The impact of the election politics in the United States on China-U.S. relationship deserves special attention. I believe that both China and the United States should approach the bilateral relations from the strategic height, take real steps to translate into action the important consensus of our leaders that we are both stakeholders and constructive partners, strengthen exchanges at a high level, and enhance strategic dialogue and cooperation in all areas. We should also respect and accommodate each other's concerns and properly handle differences. In this way, I'm confident that we are capable of making greater progress in advancing the constructive and cooperative China-U.S. relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Excellent. And I'll just make a few comments here, and then would you like some water? Well, Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for your outstanding Landon lecture presentation. I think you can see with the Ambassador's Landon lecture today, as he updated all of us here in the audience today on the relationships and the growing partnership between China and the United States of America. By the way, there's an excellent article in the Atlantic Monthly for January of 2008 that goes through the litany of the great progress that's been made in the past 20 years between America and China. I recommend that you read it. You'll also see that the Chinese own about $1.4 trillion in our bonds and treasury assets. We are joined at the hip. So I thought it was an excellent presentation. And by the way, I want to introduce Ping Wang, who is the Chinese consul in Chicago in the United States of America. Please. And I was telling the ambassador about the number of international students that we have here. And we have put a full court press on to attract more Chinese students to Kansas State University. I think we just had a handful 4 or 5 years ago. We have close to 100 Chinese undergraduates, and about 250 Chinese students are studying here at Kansas State, either for PhDs, the master's degree, or undergraduate. I think quite a few of the Chinese students are here today. Would all of the Chinese students who are here please stand up? Please stand. And there's quite a few up there too. So I think you can see that we have a multitude of Chinese students here. We welcome them here. I hosted a lunch for our Chinese students back in October, And so I've gotten to know many of them, and they're hardworking students. They want to do well. They're committed to academic excellence, and they are fitting in so well here in Manhattan, Kansas, and at Kansas State University. So we welcome you all. We're going to actually have breakfast with all of the Chinese students who have indicated they would like to do that tomorrow morning. Now, that doesn't mean you all can come because we don't have enough room. But ladies and gentlemen, this is time for questions and answers, and as you know, we have mics on your left and on your right, and the ambassador has kindly indicated that he's willing to answer any questions that you might have. So please move to your right or to your left. Well, I can see we have a couple over here on your left, and please, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.
尊敬的周大使，欢迎您来堪萨斯州立大学。
Thank you. Thank you.
我叫丁家伟，我很喜欢中国文化。今年夏天我会去中国教英文。My question for you is, what opportunities? What opportunities do you think students like us have to be involved in U.S.-Chinese relations?
First of all, thank you very much for your friendship and your interest in learning Chinese and Chinese culture. So you are most welcome to go to China to pursue your academic interests and to work there, such as teaching English in China. As you know, there are more people learning English than than the number of people learning English here. So I think there are many teaching jobs, which we need some people to fill. So I think you don't need to worry about jobs in China. Thank you. Yeah.
Say, whereabouts are you from?
Wei Wu's Chinese language class. Oh, what town in Kansas? Great Bend. Yeah. Ni hao and annyeonghaseyo. Did you know that for the crimes of one, 3 generations of their families get punished, even for so-called offenses like escaping a Stalinist dictatorship? That's the case for North Koreans who aren't just economic refugees. So why must China send them back anyway, despite knowing full well what they will go back to? We're talking political labor camps like Yodok and Hwaryong that children are not exempt from going to if even one relative escapes a repressive Kim Jong idiot and his Gestapo. Will you arrange for China to send the UNHCR to that border region to process and send them to a safer place? After all, think of the children. I am a half Korean myself, so my heart pours out for the sake of my northern brethren. 감사합니다.
I don't know whether you really know the issue, because it is true that many North Koreans go to China illegally. So these people have been treated as illegal immigrants. And so the issue, I think, needs to be resolved according to international law and also relevant Chinese law. So what has been done is that with the consent of a third country, so these people will be sent to third country. And many of these people have been sent to countries like the Philippines, Singapore, and others. And my understanding is that many of them then move on to South Korea from that third country. So that's what we have been doing. I think this is in everyone's interest. They got what they want, and in the meantime, that has been, that has been an approach which has raised no objection. Yeah.
Please.
You kind of half answered my question, but yeah, what can the people, the American government and the Chinese government do to try to help the repressed people of North Korea? And is there anything that can be done to speed up the retirement of Kim Jong-il to hopefully find a more moderate leader for those people?
I think the internal affairs of North Korea should be left to the people there. Ultimately, it is the people in North Korea who will decide what they want. No one could make that decision on their behalf. But in the meantime, of course, we are trying to help them. We are trying to help them to tide over through some of their difficult times when they have been hit by natural disasters. And that is what the other countries have been doing too. And one other thing we are doing together is we are working with other 5 countries, including the United States, on the North Korean nuclear issue. And I think the 6-party talks have made a lot of progress. So we have come a long way. And disabling is making progress. And I think all the parties of the 6 are committed to denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. So I think that will serve the fundamental interests of every country in that region, including the United States and North Korea. So I think there is a lot we can do together. But as to what system they want, what kind of government they want, I think we should leave that to people in North Korea to decide.
Okay, thank you. Over here.
Hello. You commented earlier on the rural population of China, and I was just wondering if you could elaborate for us what kind of programs or anything that the Chinese government has done to elevate them out of that poverty.
China is a very big country with 1.3 billion people, and out of that 1.3 billion people, 800 million are in the countryside. So it is a big job to improve the life of the people in rural areas. So as I said, thanks to the efforts on the part of the government and the various provincial authorities, a lot of people in the rural areas have got rid of poverty. But there is a long way to go. We have a long way to go. One thing the government did is to exempt the peasants in the countryside from paying agricultural tax for the first time in China's history. So that is to say, peasants in the countryside no longer need to pay tax for whatever they produce. Secondly, what the government is doing is to put together a healthcare system for rural area residents. Although it will be a very basic healthcare system, but it's a good beginning. And thirdly, the government has made compulsory education, 9 years compulsory education in the rural areas free of charge. So I think the purpose is to try to increase the income of the peasants in the countryside and to make sure that they'll live a better life. And then one other thing the government is trying to do is to help those from the countryside who are working on temporary basis in cities. So recently, the National People's Congress has adopted a new law concerning labor contracts. So the rights of workers from the countryside who are in the cities on temporary basis would be better protected. So there are clearer regulations concerning the minimum wage and health care and the rights to education, the rights of their children to education, and so on and so forth. So I think the government will continue to do what it can to make sure there will be economic growth as well as social progress, social justice.
Okay, we probably have time for a couple more questions. Yeah, please.
I'm probably not the best person to ask this question because I'm not an expert on the topic, but in your speech you talked about the Darfur region in Sudan and how the Chinese government was playing a significant and constructive role there. In all of my short time paying attention to this, I've found that most of the discussion has led the Chinese government to actually be playing more of a destructive role. What answers do you have to this and the Chinese ties to oil interest and military arms in Sudan?
I think if you ask the former sort of special envoy of the president on Darfur issue, Mr. Nasios, or if you ask the State Department, I think you'll find that their sort of assessment of China's role is quite different from what you said. I think we've been doing what we can, and we've been playing a positive role. The issue is not our making. The issue went back a long time, dating from the colonial times. And basically, I think what we need is a dual-track strategy. By that we mean we need to make even progress, both on the track of peacekeeping and also on the track of political settlement. And it is very important for all parties to urge the rebel groups to sign the peace accord. And I hope the U.S. will continue to do what it can to urge those rebel groups which have not signed the peace accord to sign the peace accord. And as far as the peacekeeping, I think the government in Khartoum has accepted the proposal for deploying hybrid peacekeeping forces. That is a joint peacekeeping forces of AU and UN. And China has contributed to that by sending a contingent of engineering corps to Sudan, totaling between 200 and 300. And China has has provided relief goods to the refugees in the Darfur region, and China also has made donation to the AU peacekeeping forces. So I think we are doing what we can. We are actively participating in all the international meetings which are working on the Darfur issue. So I hope you will do more research into this.
Say, we'll take 2 more questions. You go ahead, and then we'll end up over here.
Dear Ambassador Zhou, my name is Ki Bin. I'm the president of Chinese Students and Scholars Association at K-State. I would like to say welcome to K-State and Happy Chinese New Year.
Thank you.
On behalf of all Chinese students, scholars, and faculty at K-State. My question is, the number of Chinese students at K-State is increasing dramatically in these 2 years. I believe there are many graduate students and undergraduate students here. Could you say something to them, like encourage them to?
Thank you very much. Thank you for your New Year's greetings. I also want to wish all of you, wish the Chinese students, scholars here, a very successful, very prosperous year of 2008. And I'm very happy to learn from the President that more and more undergraduates have come here to study. And I think this is very important. We hope there will be more American students going to China to study. Right now, there are 60,000 Chinese students studying in the United States in different campuses, and there are 10,000 Americans who are studying in China right now. So I hope this number will increase. And because I think this is very positive, very good, good for our future. So I wish you every success.
Thank you.
Take one more over here.
Yes, I believe that the relation between China and America is very important, and I was wondering, what is the best thing as we as Americans, or perhaps the American government, could do to make the relationship with China the best it could be?
It will be 30 years soon since the normalization of our relations. As I said, in the past 30 years or so, cooperation has been the mainstream of our relations. When China has been the bipartisan policy of the successive administrations since 1979. And I want to thank you for that, and I hope that will continue, because I see no reason for any change in that, and I'm sure, I'm confident that it will continue, because it is in the fundamental interests of the United States and China, and it is in the interests of world peace and common prosperity. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've got a... Well, thank you for coming to our Landon lecture here today, Mr. Ambassador. Great job. And one more little thing here. We've got a little presentation here for you. Just hold it like that. Okay, like that. Oh, here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And he has promised that if he runs into any Yao Mings in China, that they'll be joining our basketball team in the very near future. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.